Hi folks, and welcome back to The Plot. If you watched last week's live show on Monday, the Potty Mouth Garden Club, you will have seen I wasn't having a great time and just visited The Plot before we went live, and I looked around and just everything was rubbish. You know, everywhere I looked, I was just seeing failures. And generally I would say I'm a pretty philosophical gardener, right? You know, stuff kind of rolls off. People always comment that, you know, no matter what's going wrong, I'm always smiling and laughing. And that's true, but last week it just really felt like everything had just gone a bit wrong. And today I thought I'd just bring you up and show you, because this week I've really not had much time to kind of come up and tackle it. So I thought I'd just show you around, and then we'll talk about maybe a few lessons I've learned. The first and most immediate thing that really got to me is that, you know, we finally had some rain, and that is obviously massively welcome. But with the rain has come an absolute explosion of weeds, and you can see them most in the brassica bed here, which really has just completely exploded. And I'd only recently been in here weeding. This is one of those beds. It's very difficult to weed because of all the netting that you've got to get up and under. And you can just see there is a real jungle of weeds here, but also all over the plot. They have just totally exploded. Another issue in the brassica bed, aside from the weed growth in here, is just that a lot of the plants aren't doing well. I was really disheartened to come up and see some of them have died off. Some of them are just looking absolutely pants. And that's a real shame. In addition to that, there are some severe pest problems, mainly from aphids. Some of the aphid populations in here have completely and utterly exploded. And you know, a few aphids, totally fine, you just wash them off. But in some of these, you take a leaf and it's more aphid than cabbage that you can see. Just absolutely frustrating, you know, really frustrating. The next thing I immediately spotted was these potatoes. And at first glance, you might not be able to see what the problem is here. You know, generally you can leave potatoes in the ground a little while and they'll be fine, you know, just kind of being stored. But if you look closely, you can see a lot of potatoes have become exposed to the sun, and I'm gonna lose an awful lot of spuds. I'd say the biggest issue I've had this year is just stuff not growing, just things refusing to grow. And this bed is a real good candidate for it. There's a courgette down there that's given me a few fruit, but it's just never really got going, you know, it never really did what it was meant to do. There's a squash plant there that's got about, I don't know, 4 sets of leaves on it. What are you doing? Not much. There's what is this? I'm not sure if this one's a squash or a courgette, but once again, just doing very little. And then there's 2 more squash plants in here, which, you know, they look like dwarf squash plants. And as well, there's a lettuce plant in here that I kind of chucked in to see what it would do. It's done nothing. And then back here is pretty much the same story. My peas, you can see I've still left all these to kind of have some things trailing up, but the things that were meant to trail up them never grew. And there's just loads of stuff in here, mainly cucumbers. There's a courgette down here. They just didn't really get going. You know, I showed this off in my last plot tour, but there's just a lot of things that aren't quite right. There's some cucumbers at the back that have finally, after being in the ground for months, started to kind of do their thing. And, you know, it's just been really frustrating watching stuff go into the ground and sit there. And as if all that wasn't bad enough, my greenhouse, which is usually the kind of safe space where everything is doing really well, I've had quite a few problems in here this year as well. The main issues have been on these tomatoes. You can see there's some nice red fruit on here, but these just have such a myriad of issues. We've got fruit that's splitting. I've lost countless tomatoes to blossom end rot. I came out one day and one of these plants had just absolutely collapsed. I think it was, in fact, this stem, which I've since tried to tie up. I've done something with it somehow. How did I? Oh no, yeah, I spent ages tying this back up and it then snapped. And in fact, what I've just done is just hooked it through this cross brace in the greenhouse with these that are weighing it down. Not good, you know, absolutely not good. On the tomatoes as well, I've had another kind of unusual problem, and that is caterpillar damage. I've lost lots and lots of tomatoes to the caterpillars themselves, and they're really, really difficult to see. It's the bright line brown eye moth or something like that, but they are just little devils, and they're really, really well camouflaged on these tomatoes. Really quite frustrating. One thing in here that really did break my heart, I had my first nearly ripe melon, and just as I was letting it just get perfect on the plant for a few more days, something came along and really had a go at it. So that really, you know, a lot of these things were just all at once, and I arrived and it was just like one thing after another, and it just really got me down. And then we have the pepper plants as well, which normally the one thing that I can grow quite well, I give all my time and attention to. And this year these aren't having the best time either. There's a few of the plants that have just not had a good time. This Bangalore whippet's tail, for example, has put out just the saddest, worst looking fruits. It's not okay. I don't think it's an issue with the plant itself. I think it's just, you know, not had enough water, not had the right conditions. And at the back, I did have a load of sweet peppers, and they are now all in the compost bin, unfortunately. Every time they were fruiting, the peppers were just going mouldy. I don't know if it was sun scorch or blossom end rot. I think probably blossom end rot, because I wasn't giving them enough water. You know, I kind of treat the chilies quite harsh, and the bell peppers, the sweet peppers, just can't take it. So absolutely rubbish. So that is, well, just a little taste really of, you know, kind of what I've been looking at and my feeling recently about this year. It's not been a good one. And I think it's really important as gardeners to be pretty positive. You know, you've got to roll with the punches. A lot of what we do is outside of our control. There's only so much we can do. And if you get in your own head and if you start catastrophizing when things go wrong, it can lead down a bit of a slippery slope and the garden stops becoming a happy place for you. But that said, sometimes when things go wrong, it is worth taking a deep breath, you know, giving yourself a bit of time to get over it, which is what I've done, but also thinking about what lessons you can learn. And this was kind of inspired a bit by Steve as well over at Green Side Up, who kind of emphasized the importance to me of, you know, giving yourself a bit of kind of analysis, you know, look at what's gone wrong. Is there a reason? Is it outside of your control, or is there something you can do to improve next year? Now, when it comes to these beds and stuff just not really getting away, not really growing, at first I thought it was just a bit of a quirk. You know, there was something going on with the weather or the conditions, and the plants just weren't loving it. But after a bit of thinking, I think it's obvious that there's kind of two main takeaways. The first is that these two beds are quite close together. They've had a similar treatment. I think I just kind of dug them over, didn't add too much. They both had some compost, this one more than that one. And I think next year I'm just gonna have to give these a really good kind of dose of compost and manure, get some organic matter into the soil, and hopefully that will really improve the conditions, because these plants are probably struggling because of something to do with the soil condition or nutrient availability or something like that. The other thing is that a lot of these plants didn't have a great start, actually. I started them all off in a greenhouse, in modules, and some of the ones that are doing really badly got completely and utterly cooked in there through completely my own fault, you know. I spoke about that earlier in an episode, and I'll link it up here so you can go and have a look at how I accidentally cooked some of these. But they kind of bounced back, you know. I gave them a good water, they looked pretty healthy, and I thought, hey, you know, let's get them out and they'll get away, they'll do their thing. And, you know, that's my own fault. So I've already kind of remedied that by installing the auto vent, which is hopefully going to take care of a lot of these problems. And when it comes to weeds, you're always going to be fighting them. But there are some things that I'm hoping I can do next year. Finally get mulching. I've always kind of struggled with mulch because I really don't want to buy stuff in. It could be really expensive. But down the cycle track, on the walk to the allotment, there are absolutely loads and loads of leaves, so I'm going to invest in some of those scrapers. It's fine to get them from there and then start making my own leaf mould, and hopefully mulching these beds is going to really suppress some of this weed growth. There were two things that I spoke about in the brassica bed. The first was just the condition of some of the plants. It's a really, really tiny one here. Once again, looks like a dwarf cabbage or something. It's actually kind of cute. But when it comes to the condition of these plants, the reason that these are so small is because when I started the seedlings, they were sat in bad compost for a really long time. You know, and I should have seen that the seedlings just weren't happy. They needed something else. There was something wrong going on there. And because they were in there so long, they went into the ground really, really late in the season. Bad conditions for them. So I'm not surprised that a few of them have died off and some of them just aren't looking too healthy. When it comes to the pests, though, I don't really know if there's much I can do about the aphids on here. Thankfully, we've had a pretty tame year in terms of slugs and snails, and I have been picking those off as I see them. But aphids, they're really, really difficult to control. Neem oil is a good option. I've spoken lots and lots about neem oil, but we're getting towards harvest time now, and it's not really a good time to be applying neem oil. So, yeah. Of course, I do my best to encourage all the ladybirds and beneficial insects that I can, and I can see on here, alongside the aphids, there is the occasional ladybird and as well hoverfly larvae, which are a good one to watch out for. But these are doing some real damage, and it's just one of those things that sometimes you're going to lose a few plants. Nearly fell over. When it comes to all these exposed spuds, I suppose there's two lessons to learn, really. Number one is double check you don't need to come along and mound them up, because if I had done that with these, they would have survived. But the second is quite a specific one for me. The reason that these have gone over is because I kept waiting for a good time to do a part 2 of the potato harvest video. And that opportunity just never really manifested. There was other stuff to be done that was more important. And that's a thing that happens all the time with YouTube videos. I say, I'm not going to do that now because I'll do it on a video, and then I'll never get around to it. So I think next year, do the job first, worry about YouTube second. With the tomato problems, quite a few lessons to learn here, really. The first is that the quad grows apparently just don't supply enough water to these big beefsteak tomatoes. That's what is probably the main cause of the blossom end rot, because they've got a good feed, they've got the calcium, they should in theory have everything they need. But the other thing is to support these properly. What I really need to do is invest in some kind of thing in here, a better kind of support structure for them to properly get them tied up, and just stop them falling over, stop any damage to the stems, because I've just been doing it really piecemeal, you know, little bits here and there, just trying to kind of fight a fire with this, and that's not really how you're meant to do it. You know, give them a good start right at the beginning. When it comes to the caterpillar damage, that's sort of one of those things that is really hard to control. You can't really physically stop them from arriving on tomato plants. If they're there, they're there. But next time, I'm much better equipped. I know what the damage looks like. I know where they kind of like to hide. A really obvious sign is their poo. They have massive, massive crap for a little insect, you know. They leave these little dots of poo all over the place that kind of get hooked up. And that's one to watch out for. There is a really nice Crimson Crush that I've just taken off there. Been waiting for this one for a little while. So those are the main problems and the main kind of lessons, but there are a few other things that I wanted to mention. And the first is a lesson that I learned a long time ago, and that is to look for the silver linings. I haven't had time in today's episode to talk about all the things that have put a smile on my face, but this is one of them. This part is where the plot has actually done what it's supposed to do. You know, we've got this amazing squash plant just going crazy, going bonkers. I've got 2 courgette plants that are the correct size here that are giving me loads of fruit, and there is lots and lots that has kept me smiling, so I don't want to be all doom and gloom. But the other thing is, and this is the thing that's probably improved my garden year the absolute most, you know, it's been the best change, and that is like just finding gardening friends, which sounds a bit weird, but I'm of an age where most of my friends, well, none of my friends have allotments. A few of them are slightly into, you know, tinkering in the garden. But finding a group of friends in Tony, Audrey and Steve at the Potty Mouth Garden Club has just been really, really wonderful. So if you find yourself without, you know, loads of people to talk to about gardening, do come and join us over at the Potty Mouth Garden Club. I'll leave a link in the description. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell as well, because we don't always go live on Monday, although it should be Mondays. So yeah, do keep on your toes with that. But you know, that's just been such a good improvement for me. Just having someone to kind of vent to bounce ideas off. They've got years and years of knowledge in the garden, so it's just been absolutely amazing. But I really hope you've enjoyed this little look round. Hopefully some of the lessons I've learned are relevant to you. Maybe you've got some of the same problems. There has, of course, as well been the drought, which I didn't talk about much in this episode, but that has been another challenge to overcome. Thank you ever so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again next time.